people that weren't so nice to me.
26-year-old Esteban Santiago pulls out his pistol.
And it is an eerie scene here, this heart of London, usually such a bust.
The wall of water leveling the city as people slept in their beds.
And Dana, the two dead are two adults. Apparently the police chief says one of them...
He allegedly drove into a crowd of people in Times Square.
You know, this is going to be a heck of an event for us. And to give you a better idea,
one mayor telling residents who ignored evacuation orders to write their...
After Irma stormed through with 130-mile-per-hour wind gusts.
Prayers are needed for this area. Perhaps the worst.
January 2017. It kicked off as the Trump era in the United States of America, and quickly on January 2nd, tons of protests all around the United States of America as the Trump era began. The perversion continued as on January 4th, a Fox TV show featuring a 6-year-old transgender hit the media. Not to be outdone, Maybelline and L'Oreal back-to-back announced transgender models in their Maybelline and CoverGirl products. And as with everything, when you allow wickedness in the land, problems simply continue, and in Fort Lauderdale there was a mass shooting in their airport.
The attack came without warning, as seen on this airport surveillance video obtained by TMZ. 26-year-old Esteban Santiago pulls out his pistol and opens fire. Passengers run for cover as Santiago moves out of camera range through the baggage claim section, where police say he emptied his 9mm semi-automatic handgun and then reloaded once, killing 5 people and injuring 6 more.
On January 18th, it was reported that hyperinflation renders Venezuela a nation of broke millionaires. Speaking about currencies, on January 19th, First Cash, now India, could ditch card payments by 2020. The system to implement the mark of the beast is in the work, folks. And finally, the big moment, when Trump was inaugurated.
President Trump wasted no time in bringing about his revolution, signing his first executive orders immediately after his inauguration and then finishing his first day on the job with a series of celebrations. Here again is my Nightline co-anchor, Juju Chang.
A night of celebration for the new First Family. President Donald Trump taking the stage at the first inaugural ball with the new First Lady, touting his unexpected victory.
People that weren't so nice to me were saying that we did a really good job today.
Donald Trump's inauguration was followed by the Women's March, where they viciously marched against Donald Trump in America.
All right, welcome back, everyone, and thanks for staying with us. It is the top of the hour, and we want to take you to D.C. We have been monitoring the Women's March coming out of Washington and across the entire world. Thousands of people nationwide, and again, in places like London and Barcelona, just out there marching for their rights, and many of them protesting the swearing in of our 45th president, Donald Trump, and also his administration and his cabinet that has yet to be filled.
And as with everything, while they have people entertained with the left-right paradigm in terms of politics, the evil transhumanistic agenda is still in play. The first pig-human embryo thanks to science. And as if that wasn't enough, the Gnostics continue to promote their version of New Age in this world by claiming that we live in a 2D universe and everything is just one big hologram. February 2017, we kick off the month with having a teacher actually do a cartwheel in front of the class with no underwear, according to police. Followed by a teacher, 28 years old, having an affair with a 16-year-old student in school. And in good news, they caught a serial rapist who easily had abused over 1,000 children was busted. Wow, pray for those children. And according to NASA, they were able to actually find a soccer ball in space. How? I don't know, but NASA lies a lot, so we'll just take this as with a grain of salt. On February 9th, they were able to bust a man who was accused of targeting seniors. Seniors, folks. Abusing them, raping them, robbing from them. What a disgusting human being. And not to be outdone in terms of perversion, but in Israel, for Valentine's Day, Burger King promoted an adult Happy Meal with an adult toy. Think about that. Pretty sick. February was able to bring to us Flynn's resignation. And as you know, there's much more to cover in terms of Flynn as this video goes on. In February 2017, Richland Florist discriminated against gay couple by refusing service according to the Supreme Court. Once again, the sodomy agenda is hard at work in this country. Because when you take a look at it, Disney airs its first gay ever cartoon kiss. Pretty sick stuff, but this happened in 2017. March 2017. It didn't bring us any better news, as a man was beaten to death over $1.14. Followed by a kindergarten teacher actually using the Ouija board in school. Right now in 2017, we know that Bitcoin is extremely hot, but back then in the month of March, that was the first time that Bitcoin was worth more value than actual gold, according to their statistics. 2017 told us a little bit more about Pokemon Go, as a man suffers a fatal heart attack after catching one of the most rarest creatures in Pokemon Go. In March 2017, we had Casey Anthony give her first interview after she allegedly murdered her child. And in their interview, as is the case with every narcissist on planet Earth, very cold, very cunning, very wicked individual right there that needs repentance. Speaking of wickedness, on March 10th, 2017, Reza Aslan actually eats human brain on a CNN show called Believer. So as you can see, we have sodomy, cannibalism, perversions left and right, all over the news. In March, we had a lot of dispute in the media because in Beauty and the Beast, there was a gay character called Disney's LeFou. And to some, he was too gay. To others, he wasn't gay enough. And in March 14, a 2-year-old left brain dead after allegedly brutal beating from a 17-year-old babysitter. On March 16th, Beauty and the Beast director actually says he wishes that he could rip out pages of the Bible. Followed by Chinese researchers announcing designer baby breakthrough. Huge breakthrough in the month of March in terms of transhumanism and designer babies. As if that wasn't enough, After School Satan Club received fast-tracked tax-exempt status from the IRS. And as you can see here, schools are becoming a very dangerous ground for kids because a Texas teacher accused of sex with student grins in the mugshot. Demonic stuff, folks. And then we had the horrible London terror attack.
You're looking right now at London this morning, the scene of that devastating terror attack.
Here is what we know right now. At least 3 victims were killed, 29 injured. Authorities believe the suspect was a lone wolf. He was also killed in the attack, and there were raids overnight across the UK leading to at least 8 arrests.
And cities around the world are standing in solidarity with London, Orlando, Tel Aviv, and more, lighting monuments in the Union Jack's colors, and others like Paris's Eiffel Tower going dark at midnight to pay tribute to the victims.
15-year-old sues his mother for taking his phone off of him. That is the day and age that we live in, where kids think that they are the parents. And we end the month with the sodomy agenda once again. North Carolina governor signs a bill repealing and replacing transgender bathroom law amid criticism. As we move on into April, it is imperative for you to realize Ecclesiastes 1:9, the thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done, it is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. The news is going to get creepier. The news is going to get more demonic, but it is imperative for you to realize how Satan is hard at work every single day against your soul. April 2017, Columbia flood, over 200 dead after rivers overflow toppling homes.
Next to that epic disaster in South America, the death toll climbing after a devastating flash flood. The wall of water leveling a city as people slept in their beds, destroying homes, taking at least 200 lives. The grim list of the dead, you see it there, and so many of them children. Tonight, the desperate rush to get fresh water and supplies to the grieving survivors. ABC's Alex Marquardt on the tragedy in Colombia.
Devastation and despair tonight deep in the Amazon basin. Rescue crews frantically digging through the muddy rubble, trying to locate anyone who may still be alive, listening for signs of life.
The creator of the rainbow flag, K. Wright's symbol, dies at 65. In the scriptures, the rainbow was a symbol made by God, but this man decided to take that symbol and make it the rainbow flag. He is dead at 65. I pray in Jesus' name that this man was able to repent. I pray in Jesus' name that this man was able to repent. In April, we also saw the Swedish bus crash where at least 3 were dead, 19 injured, mostly students. Followed by a chemical attack in Syria that shook the nation.
Monitoring groups say they're the telltale signs of a chemical attack. Fainting, choking and foaming at the mouth after what's believed to be a gas attack by Syrian government jets on a town just south of Idlib. According to the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, at least 58 people were killed, among them 11 children under the age of 8.
April was a very busy month in terms of terrorism as the Stockholm terror attack took place. Man arrested after the truck plows into store, killing 4.
We do move on tonight and to the other major story developing at this hour, the deadly truck attack in Sweden with all the hallmarks of terrorism, the attacker using a vehicle as a weapon. That stolen truck speeding for blocks down a crowded pedestrian mall, then slamming into a department store, people running for their lives.
The United States is not taking Syria's chemical attack easily, and it begins its launch and its strikes against Syria. On April 9th, we were able to see a man dragged off of a flight, an overbooked flight. The Somalia bombing kills at least 17, followed by a school shooting in San Bernardino, a disastrous school shooting.
Trace Gallagher is live with more on that. Trace.
And Dana, the 2 dead are 2 adults. Apparently, the police chief says one of them is a teacher. The other one is believed to be a shooter. And this did happen inside one of those classrooms, though we do not know what grade level the classroom was.
As if that shooting wasn't enough, there was also an Arizona mall shooting where 2 were killed, 1 injured in an apparent murder-suicide. Transhumanism, AI, all of the beast system that is being prepped and prepared to rule you in a few years is hard at work. And this year especially, they took leaps and bounds in terms of steps towards creating a female robot companion, a male robot companion, because they want to replace your wife, they want to replace your husband with a robot. A Tennessee family sues after a female janitor is charged with raping a boy. And not to be outdone, an Uber driver is charged with raping a California woman in the car. May 2017. Arizona woman discovers a note from a Chinese prisoner in purse bought at Walmart. The first rumblings of a World War III are starting to take place in May as tensions mount over Syria and North Korea. World War III again as U.S. fears. In May 3rd, we had another school shooting.
Tonight, chaos on North Lake College campus. It was just before noon when the gunfire erupted. The campus put on lockdown as police in tactical gear search for an active shooter. This math tutor saw it all.
A girl was sitting in front on the chair and a guy standing in front of her. I saw the shot 3 times. She shot her.
Some students hunkering down, turning off lights in classrooms. Others trying to escape.
On May 7th, Target actually doubles down on their gay pride stance despite all of their financial losses in the bathroom. In good news, a 53-year-old suspect, a monster, a wicked monster. He raped so many children and they found him in his house. He had children's underwear, toddler shoes, cameras, bondage cuff, fetish ropes, and everything else. Pray for this man's repentance and pray for the children that this man abused. Wow, wicked people. Watch your children, folks, because in schools, there are all sorts of wicked games out there aimed at destroying your children. There was a game in May called the Blue Whale game, and it was a game leading towards suicide. In Times Square, we saw a car barreling into pedestrians in the New York Times Square.
Amid the devastation in Times Square, police quickly tackled suspect Richard Rojas and hustled him away from the bloody scene. The big question, why would he allegedly drive into a crowd of people in Times Square?
Another teacher, folks. A teacher arrested for improper relationship with student. In Sri Lanka, we had an extreme weather event. In Sri Lanka, there were over 99 people still missing as of this article. And May ended up in another terror event as there was a Mississippi shooting spree.
A shooting rampage in Mississippi took the lives of 8 people, including a sheriff's deputy. Deputy William Durr was killed Saturday after responding to what was a domestic disturbance call. The suspect, William Corey Godbolt, was arrested after an all-night manhunt. He spoke to a local reporter with the Clarion Ledger moments after he was handcuffed. The other 7 victims are reportedly members of Godbolt's family.
As we continue, Proverbs 6:16 through 19. Let's start with number 16. This things doth the Lord hate, yea, 7 are an abomination unto him. A proud look, a lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood. June 2017. California mom and boyfriend convicted in beating death of daughter. June 2nd, McDonald's to debut rainbow-decorated fry boxes along DC's Capitol Pride Parade route. In Ontario, Canada has seen drastic laws in place at censoring you if you're standing for the truth. When it comes to gender identity and gender expression, they will persecute you in Canada in a very big way. But don't lose hope, folks. Because according to many in the Christian realm, Snoop Dogg has a new gospel album. And if that isn't disgusting enough, here we have the Pope saying that God is not God without man. James Comey came out and testified against Trump. And a trans principal came out to the school district in a powerful email. Canada once again, Canadians could face hate crimes over using the wrong gender pronouns. And Mobb Deep, a rapper, died at the age of 42. In June 20th, we had another teacher, married middle school teacher, 27, arrested for sex romps with her underage boy student. And yet another teacher, married teacher mom, 31, arrested for multiple sex romps in her car with a teen boy student. So different teachers, folks. Amazing. June 30th, yet another teacher, married health teacher, 29, accused of having sex multiple times with her 17-year-old boy student. And as the agenda continues, German parliament votes to legalize same-sex marriage in June 30th. We'll continue with Proverbs 6:18. An heart that deviseth wicked imaginations, feet that be swift in running to mischief. A false witness that speaketh lies, and he that soweth discord among the brethren. What you're witnessing in all of these news are the very things that God calls an abomination and God hates. July 1st, 2017. Charlie Gard's parents spent last days with their terminally ill baby son. They wanted to take their son out of the hospital, but of course, as is the case with many world governments, they want to make the decision for you. You can't make the decision for your child. The government wants to make the decision for your child. And the story of Charlie Gard was a sad one. July 3rd saw a North Kansas City man charged with statutory sodomy of a 1-year-old. Abominations. But the world, instead of telling you to trust in Jesus Christ, they'll tell you to trust in AI. Whatever ails you, a robot could soon be there to fix it, according to this article. And not to be outdone, in the month of July, we have another teacher, a married teacher of 43 years old, accused of adopting her student, 15, so that she could have sex with him almost every day. Persecution is coming, folks. Christian slapped with $12,000 fine, a Sharia fine, for not removing his shoes. And just when you think that you can at least turn to church leaders because they should be living holy, they should be following the commandments of God, nah, that isn't the case all the time, because the Message Bible creator, Eugene Peterson, changed his mind on homosexuality and says that he would actually perform a same-sex marriage if asked. Another teacher, Teacher's Aide, 24 years old, accused of sex with her 14-year-old boy student, and also trying to entice a 6th grader. China unveils gene technology to create superhumans with hypermuscular test tube dogs. In some very sad news, Linkin Park singer committed suicide. I pray for his family in Jesus' name that they may turn to Jesus Christ. And a new transgender toolkit approved by Minnesota Department of Education is now on board. In some wicked, crazy news, a birth of a demon goat terrifies town. Police are actually called. That thing is ugly, folks. In the White House news, Anthony Scaramucci accepted an offer provided to him by Donald Trump on July 21st. On July 24th, a pastor and his wife speak on their transgender child. They allow their transgender child to choose his or her own sex, according to this article, and pick whatever he or her wanted to be. The article is straight up confusing because the way they word things, you don't even know if it's a he or a she. Pray for that child in the name of Jesus Christ. Pray for godly conviction for this child. On July 30th, a man actually marries a laptop and then sues the state for recognition and a wedding cake. And wait a second, wasn't Anthony Scaramucci just hired 10 days ago? Well, guess what? Donald Trump hired him 10 days ago, and in July 31st, you're fired, buddy. Peace. August 2017. In the midst of all of this wickedness, there was a commandant. I will not break faith with transgender Coast Guardmen. There are people that are still trying to stand for the faith of Christ. In August the 2nd, the YouTube adpocalypse was continuing to take place as a lot of people saw their videos censored in a very huge way. On August 3rd, in transhumanist news, scientists actually are able to edit human DNA embryo for the first time. They always say for the first time, but come on, we know what they're doing.
This is really a remarkable and controversial development. By using what amounts to genetic scissors to eliminate potentially fatal diseases. But the question this morning is, could this breakthrough lead to so-called designer babies?
The target of the research, an inherited heart disease that often leads to sudden death in young people. Scientists say they have successfully edited genes in dozens of embryos to remove the mutation that causes the disease, while at the same time not triggering any new harmful mutations. To do this, researchers used a revolutionary technology called CRISPR, a tool which allows them to remove and replace unwanted sections of genetic material.
On August the 3rd, a transgender man in Oregon gives birth to a healthy baby boy. Why do they have to say transgender, man? Just say the truth. A woman who's pretending to be a dude had a baby. But they have to twist the news. Kids as young as 4 find safe space at transgender day camp. Not to be outdone, lesbian behind Disney cartoon pushing LGBT to preschoolers were political. They admit it, folks. They don't play these games. Teacher 36 charged with illicit 3-year sex romp with teen boy, which led her burying his child. And this led to the Barcelona attacks. And this led to the Great American Eclipse.
everybody. You know, this is going to be a heck of an event for us. And to give you a better idea of what exactly it is and what you're going to experience where you live, we have set up this cool little solar system right here in Studio 57. Now, we all know that the Earth revolves around the sun and that the moon revolves around the Earth.
After the Great American Eclipse, Texas saw huge devastation with Hurricane Harvey.
One mayor telling residents who ignored evacuation orders to write their name and social security numbers on their arms so authorities can identify their bodies. This storm is expected to stay over the Texas coast for days, dumping more than 2 feet of rain before moving to Louisiana. I'm Wendy Ryan.
And I'm Jamison Euler. We'll get the latest on the storm's path from Dennis in just a moment. But first, we go to ABC Action News reporter Lana Zach with a look at what's happening in Houston right now.
Good evening. The eye wall of Hurricane Harvey has started to make landfall here on the Texas coast. Already in Corpus Christi, Texas, more than 30,000 people are without power, and things are only expected to get worse. Hurricane
that guy can make it back in the truck on this? No, this is lights out.
And all of these news in the month of August led to huge speculation that the rapture could occur on September 23rd, as many were pointing towards the signs in the heavens. And because of so much wickedness in the land and so much devastation with terror attacks and hurricanes, the speculation continued. Would September be the month? We'll find out right now. Romans 8:22, for we know that the whole creation groaneth and travaileth in pain, together until now. And as you will see now in the month of September, things got pretty hectic. September 2017. Texas is still devastated after the effects of Hurricane Harvey.
I've already lost close to $2 million, but at least I'm alive. My family had already gotten out of here, so I decided it'd be best to shelter in place here on the island. And I was making watermarks along my wall as the water rose up, and I figured I was just gonna have to write goodbye to my wife and kids at the top mark.
It was so many different emotions you go through. This was our living room right here. You could tell they had one recliner here. I had a green leather couch against this wall. We can't find it.
Not to be outdone, Hurricane Irma at this point is now shifting its path towards Cuba and towards the United States of America.
The latest update on Irma as it comes in from the National Hurricane Center as of 5 a.m. It's a Category 3 hurricane. The official forecast from the Hurricane Center keeps it a Category 3 or 4 storm as it tracks, just as those models indicated, towards the southern Bahamas, maybe portions of eastern Cuba. As we head
los televisores absolutamente no sirve nada, ventiladores nada, todo, ¿verdad? Todo derrumbe total, sin nada adentro, nada. Todo el mundo aquí se quedó sin nada.
No, eso ya no sirve. ¿Ya para qué? ¿Cuánto vende?
Star meteorologist Adam Klotz back in the Fox Extreme Weather Center to bring us up to date on what's happening right now and what we expect. And Adam, good evening again.
Hey, good evening, Bill. Continuing to track this as it moves right up the coast of the community most recently hit and hit hard. We're talking about the Fort Myers area. That's the outer wall just to the north there. So the really strong winds likely just moving through that area, maybe beginning to get just a bit of a break at the moment, but they just saw some real powerful storms move through the area. Everything to the north of that, the entire state of Florida, you're looking at tornado watches in place. The conditions are there to see.
Irma did make landfall, as we said, as a hurricane Category 4 in the Florida Keys just after 9 a.m. Sunday. It hit hard. The emergency management director fears the destruction could cause a humanitarian crisis. The entire area under mandatory evacuations, residents still barred from returning. Amy Robach traveled through.
The devastations of Hurricane Irma in Florida were tremendous, and in Cuba were tremendous, but what was getting ready to go towards Puerto Rico, now that, my friends, was a true monster.
Senior meteorologist Janice Dean is live in the Fox Extreme Weather Center. Boy, the Caribbean has just been getting hammered. Here's storm number 4 in just weeks.
Yeah, and the fact that we're dealing with another Category 5 in just a matter of weeks. We haven't seen 2 Category 5s in a row since 2007, and this one is on a beeline to perhaps devastate Puerto Rico and, again, parts of the U.S. and British Virgin Islands, which were devastated by Irma. So there's no good news out of this, and the National Hurricane Center has just issued their latest bulletin. It is still a Category 5, still 160-mile-per-hour sustained winds as it barrels towards Puerto Rico. I am so concerned about this area because they could potentially see the worst core of winds, as well as 9 to 11-foot storm surge, upwards of 2 feet of rainfall, and just battering winds for a number of hours.
As Cuba, as Texas, as Florida were getting hit by major catastrophes, Mexico got hit with 2 earthquakes back-to-back in the same month. Devastation all around.
NBC's Steve Patterson joins me now with the very latest from our LA bureau. Steve, what do we know?
LA information is coming in hot and fast. This is still a very breaking situation, but the images that are coming in are absolutely horrific. This is a reported 7.1 quake, as you mentioned, south of Mexico City.
2 Category 5 hurricanes in the same month, as Hurricane Maria makes its landfall.
All right, take a look at this. Powerful Hurricane Maria making landfall right now on Puerto Rico as a Cat 4 storm. We've been watching these incredible images throughout the morning of that storm, the strong winds, the pounding rain. This storm is expected to be the biggest and potentially most catastrophic that the island has seen in more than a century.
Tensions were really high because we were just coming off of terror attacks in August. We were coming off tremendous weather events that were just catastrophic, earthquakes, terror attacks. People were on edge as September 23rd approached. Would the rapture happen? Would the tribulation period begin? What was gonna occur? September 23rd came and went. We're still here. But the wickedness did not stop there. October 2017. The devastation of Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico is still enormous.
The White House budget director said today there will be no bailout for Puerto Rico after the president suggested there might be. The hurricane death toll, meanwhile, more than doubled overnight. Here's Dr. John LaPook.
There is
There's misery all over this island.
For 2 weeks, resident Nick Prouty has been flying almost daily runs to pick up the sick and drop off supplies.
The roads seem impassable up here.
Even now, it's hard to measure the staggering toll of the hurricane.
Where do these people go? There's absolutely nothing left. These houses are absolutely destroyed. They're in splinters.
Many of the new deaths are from the island's rural interior, where most people are still without water, without power, and aid is arriving very slowly.
But fear not, for Donald Trump has arrived with his killer jump shot to throw paper towels in Puerto Rico.
Quickly 14, this is a tie for the money.
On the heels of Donald Trump throwing jump shots in Puerto Rico, we had the horrible Las Vegas terror shooting.
Overnight, perhaps the biggest key to the investigation into the Las Vegas massacre, Stephen Paddock's girlfriend, Mary Lou Danley, returned to the U.S. from the Philippines. She arrived at LAX late Tuesday night and was immediately met by federal agents. In Australia, Danley's sisters are speaking out about her relationship with Paddock.
She didn't even know that she's going to the Philippines until Steve said, "Oh, Mary Lou, I found you a cheap ticket." He sent her away so that he can plan what he's planning without interruptions. In that sense, I thank him for sparing my sister's life, but that won't be to compensate 59 people's life.
This as police release new body cam video showing the tense moments as officers attempt to approach the Mandalay Bay Hotel.
We see muzzle blast from the Mandalay Bay. Everybody get down, get down, get down, get down.
Police called the 3 minutes of video just a small sampling of what was recorded by officers that night. You can hear torrents of bullets being fired as officers take cover while trying to get people out of harm's way.
Some will say it's a hoax, others will say it's real. Whether it's a hoax, whether it's real, I can tell you that we need to pray for whoever was involved, whatever families were affected, in Jesus' mighty name. O.J. Simpson was released in 2017. In Weinstein, the allegations and the whole Me Too movement began in October, followed by a Somalia attack on October 16th.
More than 300 people are dead and hundreds more have been seriously injured as Somalia's capital suffers its worst attack to date. RT's Alex Mihaljevic is in Toronto with the latest.
It happened, 2 trucks were involved. The first truck exploded at a busy intersection near a popular hotel. That's where most of the casualties occurred. And then a second truck exploded nearby, and other people obviously were hurt in that explosion as well.
And in some really demonic news, a Florida man kills mom's friend for pursuing his imaginary girlfriend. Yes, folks. He killed his mom's best friend because he thought that his mom's friend was kicking it to his imaginary girlfriend who never existed. But they'll still call this a disease in schizophrenia instead of calling it demonic. Misery in Puerto Rico. No power, no job, enormous lines. Teacher embroiled in student sex scandal in Seminole County bonds out of jail. As you can see, the school system is not a safe place for many children, depending on the school system that you live in, of course. But look at this thing. Satanic looking drag queen reads to children at a library named Michelle Obama. I am so sorry, but if I am there and I see that thing reading to my children, I will most likely grab it by one of them horns and kick it out of that school. Because that right there, that's some demonic nasty stuff. October 27. Texas elementary school counselor 31 accused of sex romp with students. And we ended the month of October with a terror attack in New York.
Police have shot and detained the driver of a pickup truck who plowed along a crowded bike path in New York's Lower Manhattan, killing 8 people and injuring over a dozen others. The attacker drove a rented pickup truck along the Hudson River Greenway bike path before smashing into a school bus. In fact, that one right there. He then jumped out of the vehicle with what looked like firearms, but according to police, they were in fact a paintball gun and a pellet gun.
Micah 2:1, woe to them that devise iniquity, and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand. Woe unto them. November 2017. Triple shooting at Walmart.
Breaking news, the search for the gunman. Last night's shooting at a Thornton Walmart that killed 3 people is over. Police confirm this is the arrest of the man they suspect is the shooter, 47-year-old Scott Ostrom. They captured him at 72nd and Federal in Westminster.
Women killed autistic teen to check off murder from bucket list, prosecutors say. Daddy can be mummy. Womb transplants could allow men to have babies tomorrow, claims expert. As you can see in this year 2017, they've made huge attempts with the sodomy agenda. But you have to understand what they're really trying to get to. It's not so much for you to accept men with men or women with women. This is going to lead towards robot and humans marrying each other. And giving rights to robots to be dads and mothers. It's pretty demonic what's coming ahead, folks. Look at what they're planning. It's pretty wicked. Speaking of wickedness, multiple people shot inside a Texas church.
Well, welcome back. We're following this breaking news out of Sutherland Springs, Texas. A shooting taking place at the First Baptist Church there. Multiple people have been shot. We understand from authorities there on the ground that the gunman is dead. Unclear whether that's from a self-inflicted wound or whether police took him down. We do understand that there was some sort of chase from Wilson County, which is where the First Baptist Church is, into nearby Guadalupe County. Albert Gomez Jr. is the Wilson County Commissioner and with me on the line right now. Mr. Gomez, what are you learning about what transpired here?
Right now, I just talked to an EMS spokesman, and they're looking close to 27 deceased and over 24 injured.
With all of the wickedness that is abounding in the United States of America and all over the world, Columbine is no longer one of the 10 deadliest shootings in modern U.S. history. And speaking of this, people will say in 2017 that a lot of it is a hoax. Others will say, no, it's all real. Well, here's my stance on it, briefly. If this world government has no issue in murdering over 40 million babies via abortion, what's a couple of hundred people to them? It's nothing. That it could be a hoax in the sense that there are more than one people perpetrating it with all that MK Ultra and all of the things that they're doing? Sure. But are there real people passing away in all of these disasters? I am sure of that as well. These people are demonic to the core. Pray for all of the families affected. Report. Friends of Corey Haim say he accused Charlie Sheen of rape. We know that Charlie Sheen has done a lot of wickedness, and one theory is that he actually raped Corey Haim and others. Italy is investigating the death of 26 teenage girls in the Mediterranean Sea. It was sad to see all of these women, all of these teenage girls. You see, as we're trapped in this bubble we call America, we try to focus on the news because this is where we live at, right? But all around the world. The news that I'm reading to you in this video, if you think that any of this has any type of a shock value, it's nothing compared to the wickedness happening all around the world. The world is worse than you think. Way worse than you think. Big data meets Big Brother as China moves to rate its citizens. So China is already moving towards a social score, where you know how in America you have a credit screening type of a score, where China is moving more towards a social score of their citizens. Big baller brand in the house. UCLA basketball players thank Trump for helping us out after tweet. LiAngelo Ball was caught shoplifting, and you know the rest. People for sale, where lives are auctioned for $400. It's pretty sad, ain't it? But slavery still is happening in this world. The death of Charles Manson, and this man is still idolized by a lot of people. 1 Thessalonians 5:22, abstain from all appearance of evil. Yet people love this man. People adore this man. In other news that you need to keep an eye on, health company fires 69 employees over refusal to get flu shots, a report says. And just as they're going after them over flu shots, when the mark of the beast is implemented, whatever it is, we don't know what it is, when that does take place, you'll see what's going to happen. An ex-USA gymnastics doctor apologizes and pleads guilty to criminal sexual conduct. This monster did horrible things to children. And on Thanksgiving's Day, Virginia pastor charged in Thanksgiving's Day killing of his family. NBC saw Matt Lauer get fired for inappropriate sexual behavior. And all of these people, from Weinstein to Matt Lauer, all of these people, do you think the media didn't know what they have on these folks? Of course they do. They just pull the trigger when they have to pull the trigger. And with the feminism movement, with all of this stuff, a lot of people are guilty without even having a trial nowadays when it comes to this stuff. Are there a lot of men who do these things? Absolutely. And they shouldn't be in the workplace if a man does this type of stuff. Or if a woman does this type of stuff. But now we're at a stage that you're guilty without even having a trial. A woman can simply say, this person abused me or hurt me or said something to me, and you're guilty automatically. It's crazy. Earlier in this video, we talked about the rumors of World War III, where a new missile test shows North Korea is capable of hitting all of US mainland, according to CNN. And we know what they're hyping. They want a war. They love war. As December 2017, as we head into the last month of this year, the chaos is still continuing as Michael Flynn pleads guilty.
Tonight, the ongoing Russia investigation has reached President Trump's innermost circle. Trump's former national security advisor, Michael Flynn, says that he is cooperating with the special counsel's probe into possible cooperation between the Trump campaign and the Russian government. Flynn pled guilty to repeatedly lying to the FBI.
In Queens, one is dead after a fight over a parking lot. Over a parking lot, folks. Another teacher in Wisconsin, 28 years old, is busted for having sexual relationships with her teen boy student. The fires in California are still continuing, and look at this impressive image as they drop fire prevention materials on this house.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
And while there's extreme weather events in California, it's so cold outside that it actually snowed in Florida. I would have paid anything to see that snow, because where I live at in Florida, there's no snow. But that is impressive. And just as you're enjoying the snow in Florida, there's a terror attack in New York. 5 injured in pipe bomb explosion in the subway tunnel.
Target today was New York City. Police say that a bomb strapped to a would-be suicide bomber blew up in a pedestrian walkway at the biggest transit hub in the city, which includes the Times Square subway station and the Port Authority bus terminal. The only serious injury was to the Bangladeshi suspect. It happened at the height of the morning rush in a city filled with commuters and holiday shoppers, just 6 weeks after a deadly terror attack a few blocks away. The inspiration again was ISIS.
On December 11th, the tax overhaul could mean major changes to your paycheck, according to Donald Trump. And on December 13, a mom is accused of subjecting her son to 323 hospital visits and 13 surgeries. What people do for a disability check is amazing. Speaking of hospitals, a surgeon in December admits to actually marking his initials on patients' livers during transplant operations. Talk about a narcissist. In December, we had the death of R.C. Sproul. Pray for his family. And as Bitcoin is exploiting in December, the feds are rushing to cash in on the Bitcoin craze. And in December, we saw a woman, 93 years old, actually be arrested for not paying her rent. And although I'm sure there's a lot more to the story, because a lot of elderly folks sometimes cannot be They're not coherent when making decisions. It's sad that people are getting arrested for this type of stuff instead of giving them the help that they need. A father gets 6 months only for breaking 20 bones off in his children. That's insanity. You see, the people that commit horrible crimes, they get no time. But the people that commit simple stuff, they get years and years and years. The SEC suspends the trading of red-hot Bitcoin stock. And of course, in this month of December, we saw the UFO encounter by the US Navy pilot. I have a video on that. The prior video to this one speaks on that in depth. Check it out on the channel. Another teacher, a former Christian school teacher, 29 years old, arrested days after being caught in bed with a teen boy by the husband. And in regards to Bitcoin, if you attach anything type of a coin to your name, forget about it. You're gonna make money. An iced tea company rebrands as Long Blockchain and the stock prices triple. That's insanity, folks. And in December, we saw the United States of America move its embassy to Jerusalem, and the world came at the United States of America in a vicious display at the UN Assembly.
The United States will remember this day in which it was singled out for attack in the General Assembly for the very act of exercising our right as a sovereign nation. We will remember it when we are called upon to once again make the world's largest contribution to the United Nations. And we will remember it when so many countries come calling on us, as they so often do, to pay even more and to use our influence for their benefit.
And it's signed, folks. The tax law is signed.
Next tonight, President Trump in Mar-a-Lago, hours after celebrating his first major legislative victory. The president today signing that tax cut bill into law, surrounded by cameras in the Oval Office. President Trump already looking at the next item on his agenda in the new year. Here's ABC's David Wright.
So this is the bill right here, and we're very proud of it.
This may be the most sweeping overhaul of the tax code in a generation.
That's your bill.
But today's signing ceremony was a rush job.
We did a rush job today. It's not fancy, but it's the Oval Office. It's the great Oval Office.
In California, the firefighters are still battling the wildfires even on Christmas Day.
Severe drought conditions have made things worse this fire season. Mark Vantillo manages the firefight. He says this area hasn't seen any measurable rain since February.
Everything's been a record during this fire.
What does that indicate to you?
It indicates to me that we're in a year-round fire season, but we just aren't seeing any relief from the rain.
Scott DeHaas has spent more than 90 days fighting fires from his native Oregon to here in California. So spending time with other firefighters, reading cards from a grateful community, and seeing a surprise visitor was a welcomed escape.
Major Bitcoin exchange Bittrex customers have been unable to withdraw for months. So folks, the Bitcoin craze, I don't know about it. Something seems a little bit suspicious about it. And as of December couldn't be chaotic enough, a lockdown after Aventura Mall shooting scare is the latest impact from rumors going viral. And the New York Post is reporting that your next booty call won't be with a human. The transhumanist agenda, folks, it's insane. And why would a man prefer a robot over an actual woman? Or why would a woman prefer a robot over an actual man? And I know that many of you have a lot of answers as to why, but that's some pretty crazy stuff. Speaking of transhumanism, Google has developed AI voice in December that sounds indistinguishable from the voice of a real human. You have all of these new tools like Alexa, and you have Google coming up with their things that you can actually talk to these things and they listen to you all day long, studying you, finding everything about you. What they're creating with AI is pretty demonic stuff. And if you thought you can just spend your time at home, relaxing, eating pancakes, bacon, and some nice potatoes made by your wife, nah, you can't just do that alone because rumors of war are still going on. Chinese ships are caught selling oil to North Korea.
But now there are new reports tonight that China's helping the rogue regime.
secretly shipping them oil, which violates UN sanctions.
FX is now also making history with their own transgender musical series. And on December 28th, a US woman is stabbed 14 times by a Somali migrant, and the media goes dark. You hear nothing about this type of stuff. Teen's dad busted Texas teacher, 44, having sex with student in the car. What's going on with all of these teachers, folks? As you can see, this is a consistent trend, and these are not males doing this to women. These are women doing this to boys. And nearly half of Puerto Rico is still lacking power, officials say. But even though that is the case, look at this video here. I saw this documentary this month, and look at the spirits of this man. So happy. Because even though not everybody has power, we have life.
How about God? But this is an island that, hey, we are tough guys, and we're gonna get up, man. And we're gonna go smiling, and any help that coming over, hey, first we bless God, and God bless us, because we have even you guys, because the kids are growing up, and there are no conversation, always technology now. We have to face each other, neighbor, help neighbor, and that's the way we're gonna get up. We have to get together. Hey, you're gonna be part of us. Hey, come on. Hey, man, come on. That's it, brother. Hey, God bless you guys, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, we don't have mango, but hey, you're gonna have a good time. Hospitality and people from the heart.
The second is this: love your neighbor as yourself. There's no commandment greater than these.
Deadly New York City fire started by 3-year-old playing with stove, and boy was it deadly. We spoke of China being caught red-handed with the ship. Well, South Korea seizes ship it claims transferred oil to North Korea. The tensions are rising. And look at this wickedness right here. A Florida man is accused of rigging the door to his home to electrocute his pregnant wife. I saw the pictures of the contraption. Crazy things, folks. Another teacher, a substitute teacher, 23 years old, accused of having sex with 2 students, including a 14-year-old. Upheld. The $135,000 penalty for refusing cake for 2 brides is upheld. And according to the article, quoting the Bible can cause emotional harm to same-sex duos. So when you quote the Bible, according to this court, you're causing harm, emotional harm. And as protests are rising in Iran, Donald Trump warns Iran, saying the world is watching. This is what I don't understand about the United States of America. If people in America rise up and protest, you're either racist, you're in the left, or you're in the right. It's always an excuse to not do it. When protests happen in other countries, we instigate it. A world at war, folks. We're ending 2017 with rumors of war. And it would be nice to know that when you call 911 for assistance, or when the cops show up at your house, in this case, police kill a man at his own home while responding to a fake call. So they show up at the man's door, he opens the door, he gets shot. Think about that. He didn't even call 911. Why? What's going on with some of these police agents? They're not being trained enough to react to certain things. You knock on the door, he opens the door. As instructed, he gets shot. Sure, it was a fake call, but they blamed the fake call as the reason that he was shot. He didn't do nothing. He just opened the door. Tensions are rising in 2017. Things are ending up in a very bad way in 2017. 9 dead after gunmen opened fire at Coptic church near Cairo. And if as that isn't bad enough, deputy killed, 6 injured after shots fired in Denver suburb.
We begin with breaking news out of Colorado. A sheriff's deputy there has been killed and 4 other deputies have been wounded after a gunman opened fire in an apartment complex in a Denver suburb. 2 residents were also shot, and according to the sheriff's office, the suspect was shot and is believed to be dead. As the body of the deputy was taken from the hospital, officers held a procession.
In 2017, we saw the whole conspiracy where everyone's saying that Russia helped Trump get elected. And we end 2017 with Vladimir Putin urging pragmatic cooperation with U.S. as New Year's begins. You see, tensions are rising, and South Korea just busted yet another ship, shipping oil to North Korea.
South Korea seizing a Panama flag-bearing ship suspected of smuggling oil to North Korea amid heavy UN sanctions. This after just revealing that in late November, a Hong Kong flagged vessel was believed to have done the same.
So how do we handle such a difficult year? We've talked about what's happened in terms of the news. It's always easy to point out all of the bad that has happened throughout the year. But I'm sure that in your life, if we go from January all the way through December of this year, you can point out the good, you can point out the bad, and you can point out times of troubling. You can point out the good. You can point out the bad. You can point out all of the times that you were about to give up, but Jesus Christ was right there with you. Regardless of all of the wickedness that is happening all around us, Satan is defeated. And although we've pointed out all of the crazy stuff that's happened in 2017, what about God's mercy? That even though this nation has gone downhill, we're still here being able to preach the gospel. That even though you've backslidden in 2017, you fell into sins, you fell in your own ways, there was still a God in January. There was still a God in February. There was still a God in June. There was still a God in September. There was still a God in November. And there's still a God right now, December 31st, as I'm recording this final audio. And He's calling upon you not to wait till tomorrow, not to wait till next week, not to wait till next year to surrender your life to Jesus Christ, but to surrender it right now. Acts 3:19, repent ye therefore and be converted, that your sins may be blotted out when the times of refreshing shall come from the presence of the Lord. Pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you, Jesus, for this opportunity, Lord. By the time people are watching this is already 2018. In the name of Jesus Christ, Father, I urge every listener of this video to turn to you. 2018, 2019, 2020, all those years are going to get worse and worse and worse in a standpoint of sin and wickedness. But through it all, we operate from a stance of victory because we have you, the only way, the true way, Jesus Christ. Allow us, Lord, to have a new beginning this year, a fresh beginning in you, Lord. Give us the strength, give us the courage, give us the wisdom to continue on. Give us the wisdom and knowledge to continue on in your precious name. In Jesus' name, amen. I love you all. If you've enjoyed this long video, share it with a friend, share it with a family, subscribe, and look at the channel. There's a lot of different content on there as well. God bless.